Yes. Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Lucie Jeannot, and I'm part of the fashion team at Première Vision. And I'm very happy to be here today to introduce you to the Spring-Summer 2024 seasonal trends from our exhibitors to highlight their product in leather, accessories, like trims and fabrics, of course. So we have analyzed the most creative and innovative collection from their booth that you can see here with a team of experts. So just before beginning, just before we start, just a few words. In addition to this physical show, you can find articles on our website to help you make the most of your visit. So this take a close look at the market, emerging trends, must-have products, and also there will be 20 different talks to rewatch on replay after this week. And of course, we'll have also for you a detailed season report to download. That is very helpful. Also, in terms of sourcing, I hope you take a close look at our marketplace with over 70,000 products from our exhibitors. And just a few words also about this edition. So we move a lot those past years inside of the Villepinte exhibition. So you can find all the products presented here today in the forums, all of which were designed by the Première Vision fashion team. Here in all four, the Eco-Innovation Forum presents the latest sustainable innovation. All five, you find the Decoration Forum with accessories collection and fantasy prints, jacquard, embroidery, and laces. And you also find a design area displaying the latest exclusive motifs and pattern from our decorative design studios. In all six, the Essential Forum will present you all the tailoring, casual, sports, shirt, and silky fabrics, and the Leather Forum for ready-to-wear and bag and shoe designs. At Première Vision, sustainability has completely transformed our methodology and focus, just like any brand, so maybe just as you. As we all engage in this process, Première Vision is assisting everyone in the fashion industry, from manufacturers to buyers, to make a transition to responsible sourcing. And for a better understanding of sustainability and avoid pitfall of greenwashing, we made a special eco seminar to provide a lot of insights and points on sustainable product direction. So stay here after this talk because Sarah, my colleague, will do it. Okay, now let's dive directly into the season, Spring-Summer 2024. So this season, we have a synergy in between pragmatic approaches and utopian ideals. We see a kind of desire for rationality gaining ground, faced with a word we could only describe now as challenging, and we are all looking for a kind of eco-efficiency, for things that make as much economic sense as ecological sense. We seek a sustainable idealism, and without putting our head in the sand, we want to really anchor these ecological concerns more deeply in the creative process, as actually 85% of a product footprint is decided during the design phase. So it's a new creative dynamic steering forward, a future guided by common sense, connecting new problems to traditional solutions, where also quality and authenticity are the new pillar of sustainability. And in this equation, let's not forget creativity, because it's quite difficult to calibrate fashion and creativity, to calculate it, to measure it. And let's add here that today brands also rarely give time to designers to nurture a vision. They kind of demand profitability in a record time, like eat bags in a blink of an eye. So in contrast of this expectation, we see a kind of instinctive creativity that draws on the strength of colors and kind of materials. That will ground us in reality, with a true search for meaning that moves away from momentary trends. And it's also a creativity that is kind of influenced by the many worlds built in the many metaverses. And what is interesting to see here is that in those alternative reality, digital celebrate an imaginative freedom. It kind of fantasizes a fairy tale and a digital Eden with products that are designed now with dazzling luminous materials. We've seen that fashion has been experimenting with communication like fashion weeks and is now creative, designing only digital products, but it comes a bit super abstract now when perfumes have now a digital aura. So this season, even in today's complicated world, creativity stays a major criteria for design, dealing with all of those influences that we just saw. And here we want to emphasize this on the idea of dreams, because this seems to be a necessity, because it's a time to regenerate oneself, and where fiction is developed, where new utopias are conceived, to come up with alternative vision of reality in order to build things after differently. For fashion that rethink beauty criteria, that embraces dissonance in the collection and invent new style vocabularies. And so for Spring-Summer 24, we go from dream to reality, from creativity to pragmatisms in a balancing act, which is kind of neatly summed up in our tagline this season, Dream Your Reality. Now, let's take a close look at our decoding of the Première Vision color range, drawn up in collaboration with a panel of international experts from the textile, leather, and accessories industry over the course of many meetings. So at Première Vision, each season begins with a color range, because it's an inspiring tool to start and guide a dialogue in between concept and materiality with products. Those colors illustrate then market evolutions with a creative and intuitive process that can't also be really data-proven or measured. So the color range proposes a two-way reading this season, with vertical lines reflecting the season concept, and horizontal readings that invite us to create very concise harmonies. The first line offers versatile shades, so they're kind of bit melancholic and enchanting. The shades are a bit unclear, they're grayish, not quite tangible and not quite evanescent. Also in the second line, we see radiant luminosity. Tones here are a bit overexposed, almost reflecting. They really have this brightness that come from digital luminosity. Neutrals and natural shades drawn from the real world. So they have like additive-free tones, giving a quite natural quality to color harmonies. And finally, deeply in sync with reality, quite deep and intense colors, like raw pigment, a bit magnetic, with deep brights that kind of absorb the light. So this line really appeals for materials. The scholar really talk about that. Let's carry on with the decoding. So let's begin with the season's whites. So whites are conjugated in a plural because as a breath of fresh air that isn't minimalist, we see a lot of decoration in white and material mixes. Those whites are also climatic, so it's common sense now to integrate them into collection even for city wear and not just beach wear or relaxed collection. Neutrals modulate nuances. Also, they emphasize the idea of beauty in raw materials, and they move away from uniformity and standard production as revealing the fibers and skin of the materials. They can be worked together for refined harmonies, incorporating all depth of tone, from pales to darks. We see a search for discretion. It's a kind of a delicate neutrality with sophisticated but desaturated shades. Also, for the season, key colors, we see the returns of pastel. So those turn on unexpected materials, lending a new softness to multicolors and planes. And those pastels are also turning up in a color range of sustainable products to give them a fresh look to these new must-haves. So it's updated pastels, more graphic than romantic, so they are fused in checks and mixed with bright colors, melting into transparent and layered effect for positive vibe for seersucker, madras, and even tailoring fabrics. Also, the range this season have a luminous acidity with the cold sun, chlorophyll gel, and pixelated sky shades that are used almost like neons to move away from the fluo techniques, let's say. Their cool lemony luminosity is a refreshing counterpoint to the baking summer heat. And this is a kind of a key seasonal trend for us, and we think that could be very nice used in total looks. It's an acidity work with irregular textures in the collection, here with the season's neutrals, so to set up a contrast in between rustic and technical, mattness and shine, to boost really a raw tactile finish. Also, the strong pigment contrast with the intangible colors of the range. So here we have exotic, warm, and saturated pigments. So those heady colors create more sensual harmonies in the collection and brings out the highly tactile aspect of the materials. We want to work them in powerful duos to combine this idea of ultra pigment colors for bolding, clashing effect, to perhaps use them in more robust hands and geometric weaves for more density and impact on the clothes. And finally, we also see as reassuring as there may be a lot of darks in this color range this season, and black maybe are less typically present in summer collection. So that's kind of interesting. Perhaps it's the evolution of the mid-seasons that clothes are lasting longer in the collection time in the year. But we see that those darks also are developed using new ingredients. We see hemp or seaweed to achieve dark hues while minimizing environmental impact. They are worked with chiaroscuro effects, so here modulated by pastels like luminous shadows for tie-dyes that are more virtual than vintage, perhaps. And to find further color inspiration, you can discover more of the season's harmony here on all 5 in the decoration forums, in the video on the forums, and also in our new Première Vision color range, which you can buy on our sales point or order on our website as well. It includes 50 exclusive harmonies to expand your approach to colors. So those are specific recipes for material, fabric, leather, and accessories all across markets. You have a poster and a color card for seasons range tangible references, digital color file for creative software like Adobe, and you have the QTX value to give to your industrial partners. So now let's dig in the season's main direction in the materials. So I'm going to decode the season by looking at 2 different prisms. Basically, I'm going to divide the season inspiration into dream and then reality. I'll start by decoding product direction influenced by the virtual world that we associate to the dream with digital creation and technology. And secondly, we'll decode the new material influenced by strongly texture, tactile feel, and know-hows. For a fully phygital experience, combining materiality and immateriality, the best of both worlds. So this season embraces the idea of dream from a virtual reality perspective, and in this first theme, we explore the very tangible impact of the influence of our close virtual interactions through the look of various product developments. So we have an impact on visual with a diffuse approach to color and surfaces, the way shine is conveyed this season, and the approach to intangibility. And as it's a summer collection, we'll be talking a lot about transparency and lightness. So in visual, we see blurry aspect and irregularity. They kind of reflect our hesitation with a cloudy aesthetic, embracing a romantic 21st century melancholy. Let's begin with tailoring. where it's very light and slightly a bit subtle to begin with, but those visuals are blurred looking, particularly in the patterns, because with effect create a visual crackling that update iconic designs. Also, pattern elaborated beyond the familiar hand-and-hands, donc fil à fil of color wovens. Here with quite controlled stripes, with complex rhythm, a very chic effect for casual pants. In knit collections that usually experiment a lot with blends, Chine visual underpin this notion of nuances. We have a lot of innovative blends this season that you can see in the forum Eco Innovations, with a lot of climatic performance as well, like bamboo viscose and merino wool, or here on the right, a cotton combined with cork for a static effect. Those quite irregular nuances are also found in sportswear, thanks to recycled developments that are growing more and more sophisticated in this sector, with very advanced post-consumer products for perfect circularity. And moving on in decoration, prints use gradation to emphasize this idea of blur for hazy visual redefining landscape, stepping away from the ECATs this season, worked in macro and all over to inject a kind of dreaminess to the silhouette. Also, sprayed celestial halos are worked in layer. So here you have a transparent organza on top of the print, like a filter to add to tops and dresses. And these diffuse gradation are also worked for outerwear for rather sporty windbreaker or coats. Here picking up on a kind of video game aesthetic, those chromatic fluctuations trace out new camouflages, as much digital as in real life, IRL, I can't pronounce that, sorry. For leather, this ambiguous dream story also play out in color treatment. So here on the fine lambskin, right for pants and shirts. Dyes have light and cloudy pigment and a matte quality to enhance the smoky effect. They can also be softer and more supple for jacket or easy bag. And here the quiet, natural quality of the skin is enhanced by this color contrast in between a grayish patina on the neutral orange color of the skin. Also, for clothing, the leather is worked abstract with fantasy, with inky prints like a bit like tattoos, I find, to that diffuse coloring layers. And like a little touch of augmented reality, this color diffusion decorates the look right down to the trim. So we have now the technical accessories that are increasingly fancy as they have become signature elements worn in the center of the chest, thanks to the new style of crossbody bags. Also, reflecting a more popular use of recycling, we have less uniform aspects even in the accessories, the trims. So we have terrazzo and inclusions with recycled plastic, for example. And on next chapter. So one of the digital signature of characterizing the digital world is how it plays with light. So this is changing kind of our relationship to color, boosting brightness and pastel tones. Designers now are playing directly with optical fibers, inserting LEDs directly into clothing. And this is strikingly visible in the work of Jenny Heitonen, winner of the last year festival, of which Première Vision is a long-time partner. Her design features LEDs light in a very poetic way. Those lights flash in time to the heartbeat. So, and I invite you to go see her collection that is just displayed around here at the Hall 4 entry. Moving back to fabrics. More discreetly, the luminous vocabulary of shine is updated this season with pearlescence and iridescence. They are also acting like filters, a contrast between reality and matter from another world. So right next to the skin, again, shine go beyond lurex with the chine, here contrasting the even shine of water-repellent finishing. Cotton linen blend with iridescent coating, so the natural quality of the fiber can shine through an exaggerated contrast here. We have wet highlights that highlight shines on silkier, almost relaxed qualities. And in sport, featherweight fabrics for many prefer windproof jackets with qualities, with high performances and intense reflections that really amplify motion. Also, reflection really boosts the contrast and give a modern look to the silkies with the quiet floral design in the silk universe. And we kind of embroider fantasy directly with light, and the surfaces are livened up by those iridescent placements. It's a bit of a fairy tale look as well, a bit kitsch, I would say, but very interesting. Also, in leather, the digital rim is a source of inspiration for developing finishing on leather skins. We're moving away from the films because they are quite hard to recycle. So we see much more light finishes on the skin this season, with here reflections that emphasize as well the natural quality of the skin. We have a contrast between a vintage look and a more contemporary with smooth feel, with a varnish on edge and a very crumpled leather. And leather also can embrace acute fantasy with discrete microseconds for large bags of boots. Also here with a film, boldly with holographic effect, so very assumé. Shot our iridescence to really shift accessories into another reality for bags or shoes. Okay, so with this next focus, we're going to see how the product seems to convey the invisible technology that is all around us in a very tangible way, with a kind of a precise lightness. As a filter, fashion can propose that we clothe ourselves in hair, in lightness, but still branded with style, with layer in all categories, worn close to the skin or with more vaporous design for dresses and jackets. Even the most restrained fantasy finds its place to lend its signature to outfits. Maybe with global warming, it's going to be super hot, so we won't really need clothes, but don't worry, we'll still find a way to be branded and to be in style. Fabrics are refined without losing any of their quality or expression, so here we have a weightless idea in tailoring, where wool are really lightened up to the maximum, verging on gauze or voile. It's a more modern and impeccable fineness for versatile use. Seeking coolness, a weightless way to layer spring tops in knit and wrap the body in hair and colors. With perfectly drawn open knit for tops and shirts, a very structured lightness that we see is designed here. A precision in layers with weaves that structure high performance transparency in the sport world. And even with jacquard and a fantasy playing on revealing transparency for dresses or tops, which really suggests working with layer to bring out the fantasy here. It's very subtle. In laces, lightness is quite precise, pointillés, and minimalist, breaking away from the romantic florals motifs, and highlighting a kind of a savoir-faire, focusing on design rhythms in a variety of scales. So it's novelty in larger patterns for more sophisticated transparent effect. We see also this season a new surge in laces, thanks to some of the designer I won't sell, now used for outerwear and not just undergarments. Here, leather and textronic laces looking like net to layer over dresses or tops. Let's continue this with a focus on mesh and net. That's are quite popular this season, kind of are inspired by soccer and other sport shirts. Going to the leather world, it's a need of fanciness and minimalism that is combined here with perforations that are quite strong in leather developments this season. So here, what's super interesting is that we have a new mechanical micro perforation. So this is very small, and it's kind of a derived from the paper industry. So the holes here are not burned. It's an extreme precision with the same techniques. So here, it doesn't go through the skin. It just removes the half of it, so hollow out the skin and imprint it inside of the perforation for a pixel-like decoration. So the render is very surprising for big bags, perhaps, and ready to wear, for more subtle look than a very basic print covering the whole skin. Also, for clothing and leather, perforation lends rhythm to decoration, so it's a good way to be more subtle with and more discreet with decoration. Right up to incisions that create, again, a mesh look. It's a minimalist technique for maximum effect for bags, also inviting to play with layering. So, to summarize this first theme, to put forward spring-summer 2024 puts forward very photogenic product, I would say, very intriguing with chromatic blurs, enveloping the silhouette, shine posed like a filter on materials that catch the light, and transparency with moving and layered design. And just wait. Now, let's move on to our second major theme of the season, which is tied then to a more concrete reality, to a physical tangibility. So it's a physical reality built with our dreams and imagination to design collections that illustrate a grounding in materiality and a very bronze call as well for quality. This season textures are more looking than last winter, actually, with materials that really want to stick to the skin. It's also a search for perfection in material and a kind of very sophisticated comment on rusticity. So, an increased tactility, then in material and leather that really want to cling to the skin. For a new second skin that go beyond technical underlayers, with a lingerie, as I said before, inspiration in a collection for jumpsuit and bodysuit that have been cut and reassembled for new asymmetrical body shapes now. So sheathing and shaping garments that optimizes comfort and breathability while remaining effortless. We have fine bi-stretch jerseys that halfully camouflage the body while revealing it. So it's a sensuality without sacrificing comfort. Should move. Okay. A new energy given to our woven silkies, looking for maximum elasticity without reducing the fluidity of the fabric. So that can be work for pleating, knotting, and body shaping for tight jackets, almost like t-shirts, and pants almost like leggings. And it's a search, of course, for stretch that can be developed with eco-friendly alternatives to elastane and elasticity obtained via mechanical stretch yarns. So products are kind of easier to recycle, but maybe not, because we saw just presentation very interesting about recycling just before this one. And actually, I invite you to stay to the other seminar, the trend testing eco seminar, because my colleague Sarah will tell you more about this point. Okay, let's move back to this one. With sensuality that we see in the return of slippery filament knits. So they're back in the collection with the silky fluidities and that emphasizes comfort and clean shapes. The fleeces also this season are very supple, seeking fluidity while keeping comfortable cozy loops in cellulosic fibers like Naya or lyocell. So those hybrid knits move beyond sweatshirt for asymmetrical, elongated, and deconstructed sweater and tops. So we move away from the gray sweatshirt with just simple cuts. And in this search for tactility, high-end softness wakes up also our senses. So obviously we have terry and velours as it's a summer collection, but the softness this season is quite surprising, a bit almost embarrassing with emerizing on jerseys. We have wash quality in silkies that are a continuation of the pitch skins that we saw return last season, but as it's a bit hard to convey this idea in a picture, I invite you to go to the Essential Forum to find more about this, feeling. Moving on to leather, we wear this right next to the skin now, without any lining necessary. They are truly fine skin for supple, compact, liquid, and light garments. In recent seasons, leather has been growing more and more important and creative in the ready-to-wear collection, always in more refined qualities now, with ever more lightweight and innovative version for dresses, coats, and even tops. We also have a stretchiness we find in bonded skin, with smokings that accentuated a stretchy effect for close-to-the-body jackets, or with embossing and bold color for comfortable blouson with a double tone finishing, very reminiscent of bags. And to continue in this theme, the season has a search for substance. So in answer to the crisis in raw material, fabrics and leather seek to stand out. And it becomes essential to trust them to be long-lasting in order to be more sustainable. And at the same time, we're kind of looking for the exceptional, with a lavish inner luxury thanks to their high quality, with increased density and a sophisticated fineness. So if we pay for material, we want them to be long-lasting and extraordinary. In this direction, we have first a focus on leathers that combine a fullness and a contemporary finish. So we're kind of ready to venture back into truly firm and smooth leather for more structured bags. Here also the contemporary look of the skin comes from the matte finish that move away from the satin sheen that we found in leather in the last collections. And as brands are now promoting the longevity of their bags as a sign of luxury, and they also enter the second-hand market as well. We're going to move to bags maybe more structured, maybe a bit more constructed, like bowling bags, for example, with nappa and smoothbore leather, or very compact, full-grain lambskin that are showing more character, actually. So it's more an urban rendering. Even for high-fashion garments, we find ultra-dense and firm materials that favor like practical uses to work like luxury sportswear with performance. So skin now are water repellent and easy care with a high-end and sensual handles. Moving on to fabric. In silky fabric faille, the couture fabric per excellence is back. We were quite surprised. It is characterized by an extremely supple and high-hand relief, which resemble gros grain, with a silk warp. Donc, pardon pour mon accent, mais une chaîne de soie. In those days, a silk warp is really a luxury and prowess. Also, in this enthusiasm for couture look, couture is now giving a refresh look back in the forefront. It's really creating a new field of expression for fashion houses looking to stand out and experiment. And the savoir-faire of the atelier and heritage of those houses is really seen in their fabric expertise. So it's really a moment for those fabrics to shine. And here we have an ottoman, which is quite linked to this idea of couture, that is very ladylike, but now is updated in a no-gender ready-to-wear collection, for example. Of course, we have the satin that is very couture-like. So here, in this couture spirit, it's ultra-fine, but it's also double face for maximum luxury. It's an excellent spreading in all sectors, so even rather fine interlock standing for fleece this season. So in lightweight, to be worn more elaborately, knits than with structure cuts. And this desire for chic and sophistication is also found in cottony collections, and those cotton can no longer be classified as relaxed or casual. So the surfaces are impeccable, are very neat, with a snapping fineness. It's very elegant for hybrid weights that can be used all across the entire silhouette, from lightweight pants to fancy blouses, from skirt to tops, and even outerwear. So we really see the sector in fabrics all looking for high-end products, really having more sophistication and aiming for a luxury market. Texture are ultra dense, and fabrics have a fine and compact thickness. Even sporty qualities enhanced with performances for large parka or trench coats, with fabric best expressed in large volumes to kind of elaborate pleats and lively pepper feel. Okay, but in fantasy as well, developments stand out to boost their singularity. Here it's less objective, but a visual and sensual impact with high-end techniques. So aiming for the spectacular, here we have an extra large curtain jacquard to give a very big impact with this high-end technique. Also, we see a sophistication in the technique of the print. So here it's not just a sample print, it's originally a monochrome jacquard. So here the new printer detects the non-burn area of the print, the monochrome jacquard, to just print on it. So you have tactile aspect, a tactile dimension that is just not completely soft and plain. Okay, now for last theme, we're going to approach the idea of reality in a more rustic vein. So designers, as we saw in the recent collection, are having fun going on plants, right on sneakers or coats. But beyond performance, they are kind of demonstrating their desire for more symbiotic connection to nature. And this season, products celebrate plant life without being too literal or mistaking themselves for gardens, with a so-called rusticity and know-how and a sharp rise in bast fiber like linen, hemp, and ramin collection across the boards. So what we call les fibres libériennes in French. In the silky sector, linen is evolving, growing more supple and luxurious, showing really its slubs, so blurring the boundaries between textile sectors and emphasizing hybrids for high-end volume and architecturally structured dresses. Those slubs effects accentuate a raw, natural character for suits wear. Iconic classic shirts here are enlivened by linen irregularities. Also, it's a rusticity to play with an artificial natural contrast. Here, from the casual or relaxed universe, we have ultralight 100% rami or pure linen, boosted by the season's acidic shades for comfortable oversized silhouettes with the refreshing properties of those fibers. It's another thing that we see in the sport universe, that performance products are combining with synthetic and natural for blouson weight with fibrous irregularities. And it's also a rustic plant fiber look for natural outdoor vibe, quite far from the sweetly florals. A desire for an authentic look as well for accessories like backpack and messenger bags, with canvas that are marked with more raw weaves. And moving on to fancy development, naturality is also found in prints, so revealing their pure linen grounds in large place motifs. Also, in this theme, we see emerging discrete decoration rising in monochrome jacquard. So here it's playing on macro-micro effect in the weaves and matching contrast in yarns. It's a more graphic vocabulary in the pattern with less of a flower-filled look, which combines silky techniques with plant-based fabrics. Also, overexposed fiber can be worked as embellishment with loose yarn capture between transparency layers. And a fantasy with artisanal resonance, exploring the singularity of yarns and incorporating stone beans in weaves, which become almost like precious decorations. From plants fiber right up to raffia, highlighted by floating yarn jacquards. So it's an artisanal resonance here, which could be given a modern twist. Fantasy inspired by authentic know-how as well, where here a raffia-like embroidery combined with a rather classic design. And our accessories are also part of this trend, with raffia for button and buckle elements, which are fully covered, to be playing contrast with fabric and leather, or as a total look, maybe. And lastly, even for shoes, rusticity is more elaborated. So here on the left, canvas made with a yarn that is made from recycled leather, designing a jacquard placement for the shoes. And on the right, also for the sole, for the top of the shoes, a macrame look. So that was it for our main direction this season, but I would like to conclude this presentation with three highlights for you to keep in mind. So firstly, we saw sophistication in the offer in all the sectors. So the relax and tailor sector seems to merge now for more chic fashion and style. And we see increasingly research techniques from very special savoir-faire that are back in the offer with an emphasis on high-end looks. Then we kind of see also a precision and a desire for balance that come through clearly in the collection in both techniques and patterns that really echo perhaps also a word that is changing and getting ready for the environmental labeling. So with traceability, design and material compositions that are more balanced and structured than ever. And finally, development and finishing are also inspired by both physical and immaterial approaches. So a concrete physical materiality on the one hand, and an intangible digital dream on the other. So creation are now across at those two words, like the digital world we live in. Thank you for your attention. So here are the dates of our next show. I'm looking forward to meet you next July with a lot of surprise and a lot of change here in Paris. And I wish you all a great season. And if you have questions, if you want to go back and see another fabrics, I'm here for you. Thank you.